car which costs 15,000 US dollars and looks like this. CHERY is really coming after the affordable SUV market, but with absolute style. This does not look like a generic fridge, and finally we can say goodbye to those boring generic SUV designs churned out by manufacturers over the last few years. My name's Elliot Richards and this is the ICAR V23 and I am very much in love. Do you know what one of the longest produced cars here in China was? No, it wasn't the VW Santana. It was actually something called the BJ212 from Beijing Auto Works, produced from about 1964 up until about 2 years ago. And that was a Jeep based on a US Russian Jeep from the 40s and 50s. When they got rid of it, I thought, great, they're going to electrify it, keep those retro modern looks, but they didn't. They bought another ICE version. So CHERY picked up the mantle and said, no, we're going to do it. And they've produced this retro, modern, cool, funky SUV, which looks like nothing else on the market. And I have to agree with some commenters who say Chinese designs are a bit bland, a bit indistinct. This is not one of those. Finally, Chinese design is getting really interesting. Yes, it borrows a lot of cues from other cars in the past, but have CHERY really hit the nail on the head with the ICAR V23? Now, is this car going to win the Dakar Rally? I think that's unlikely. But oh my God, is this capable at doing the city driving that most people do every day through the city streets. Now the brakes, a little bit disappointing if I have to be completely honest. They are quite spongy. You put your foot down, it does give a good response, but it's quite, I don't know, it just doesn't give me much feeling, much feedback. And that's probably the biggest letdown in this car, is that just there's nothing. The first few centimeters of travel, it's just like stepping on a jam sandwich or something. Suspension and steering, however, are a bit of a highlight. Now, I wasn't expecting much from both of those, but the steering is light but responsive. You can really feel kind of the bumps of the road, which if you're going off-roading, you need to have some of that feedback into what you're doing. Suspension is good, but I got so used to having air suspension in every car now that it feels crashy, it feels bumpy, but it's really not. If you're going through those sharp bends, you know, this can definitely do it with ease. Now, if I was going to be really nitpicky, one of the main complaints I have is probably this A-pillar is huge. Now, you've obviously got the A-pillar, the structure of the car, but then the way the wing mirror has been built, it's kind of angled that you can't, there's a big blind spot basically. So that's kind of a little bit of an annoyance, because I think that mirror should be a little bit wider so I can see further back. Yes, I know I can adjust the angle of the mirror, but there's a big blind spot down there. And when you're in a high riding car, you can't see down. One of the benefits of this though, because you know it has short overhangs at the front and the back, you know, less than 30 centimeters on both, means you've got great visibility. And obviously being this high up, again, is really nice. That's the benefit of having an SUV, I guess. But I can really see in front of me, so hopefully if someone was going to walk in front of the car, I'll be able to see them very easily. Now, if you didn't see the review I did last year of the ICAR 03, I like the boxy design of that, and that was a really affordable SUV from ICAR, this new brand from CHERY. With this, I love how they've taken just the really simple circular headlights, and this is what I thought was going to be like a fat man in a Patagonia sweater, showing that he does hiking, but was actually not very good. This actually seems like it has the right ingredients to be able to go off-road. Now, look at this. You can actually see the front wheels from the front. This can do an approach angle of 43 degrees. These are all customizable bumpers which you can take off if you're going off-road. And down here is your radar for some elements of self-driving. So it's super premium, and they've really thought about how this can go off-road, but nowhere is that more apparent as you come around the side. Now, a lot of these fancy premium SUVs just focus on the design, but this, look, that is just cheap plastic, because it's going to get probably dented and broken and damaged. Massive, huge sidewalls on the wheels, and these look fantastic. They're understated, they're aggressive, love it. Now, this car actually has a ground clearance of 210 millimeters, which is just 16 millimeters less than a Land Rover Defender. So it seems like it has the off-road chops. It's also got the obligatory side step down here, which is useful because it's quite a high riding vehicle. But also, you look at these handles, you think, oh, it's one of those electronic handles, it's going to be annoying. It's not. You push it in like that, and it's a handle like that. It's a proper manual handle. Great, they've thought about the really important things that matter. Coming down here, very boxy, sides down here. Again, lots of ground clearance, lots of clearance in here. Plastic in here, mud flaps down here. Your charging port is in here, which is operated by pushing it with your hand. No electronic trickery. Now, as you come around the back, you see, I really like this design element here, this flat bit. I'm sure you can get Land Rover Defender type packs on here. A little spoiler, a bit like a G-Wagon, I think. And then these are quite G-Wagon, these backlights, I have to admit. This is getting more and more pointless. Originally, these were for your spare wheel. Now it's for stuff. This actually got lights in it, and it's got one of your cameras in it as well. But I'm becoming breathless and very excited because it's just such a unique car, but it's not just unique on the outside. So the car has bundles of smart solutions on the inside, including in your quite large trunk area. Now, I like this touch, highlighted in an LED light. But the most important thing is actually this. If you just wait there, you have up to 744 litres of boot space, because the boot will go completely flat. Ignore that flappy bit there, but look at that. 744 litres of space, and there's 90 litres hidden down there. So actually, it's super practical. Go to the tip at the weekends, put your dog in there, go to the dog park, whatever you need to do. Very remarkable how they've managed to squeeze this all in. Huge aperture, just makes sense. For every minute I spend with this car, I fall more and more deeply in love with it. Just take a moment to admire the side profile of this car. Just works, mini SUV, I just really like it. I'm going to tell you about the batteries. Now, there's some very specific numbers that I have to tell you here, so I've got my notes out. So, this car comes in 3 variations. There's a 301 kilometre, a 401 kilometre, and a 501 kilometre range. The first two, the cheapest two, they're both lithium LFP batteries, and they have a 47.28 kilowatt hour battery and a 59.93 kilowatt hour battery, very specific on those 0.93s. Those are both single motor versions. Now, the top level one with the 501 kilometre of CLTC range comes with 81.76 kilowatt hours, and it's a lithium ternary battery and with 2 motors. So it puts out about 220 horsepower between them, which is more than enough. Does 0 to 60 in about 7 seconds. Great. That's as fast as I need. But I'd rather be standing outside just admiring it rather than driving it. But there is one thing which disappoints me. Now, the interior, I'm not sure, like grab handle, that's SUV-like. Gosh, whoever was sitting in here before didn't have much leg room. I'm not really sure about this interior. I think the exterior is so striking. The design team spent 80% of their time making the outside look wonderful and rugged and aggressive and cute and off-roady. And on the inside, it just feels a little bit more confused. I know they're gone for this luxury premium interior, which is fine, you know, that's what most SUVs are nowadays. And I just think they could have spent a little bit more time in here, because I think the interior is just a bit too leathery, pleathery, a little bit too upmarket. I want it to be a bit more rugged and a bit more made out of stronger materials that you can really see the material qualities in here. Now, that's not to say it's bad at all, because the best thing is these buttons down here. Now, they've obviously been listening to the feedback that people have given about, we don't want everything on screen. And they've got these amazing buttons down here. They're all metallic. They give really satisfying clicks. I can control your heating. It's a huge button. Just control my heating when I'm driving. Air conditioning and my speaker for my stereo. I can also control my drive modes. So put it into drive, reverse, neutral. Through these huge touch buttons here. And the drive mode is slightly different. It's got textured differently, so you know you're pressing that one to change your drive mode. And then really thick toggles down here, like a fighter jet, to indicate different heating modes, your hazard warning lights, and a star. I don't know what that one does. So apart from this, you've got a 15.2-inch screen up here, and it's got some Orin 8155 Snapdragon chip, which means it's very responsive, it's very easy to use, it's great. But then I've got heated seats. You know, it's fine, but I just wish it was a little bit more. It's just missing like that last 10% of detail, I think, which would make it like the best of all time. Now it's very practical. I've got loads of space down here for drinks, 3 drink spaces down here. I've got space in there for my phone and charging, so I can do all of that. Driving position is high up like an SUV, but it's quite a narrow car. You'll notice that when you get in here, it feels quite squished in, but that's good. It doesn't have to be huge. I do like there's a small button up here. There's no screen up here. It's kind of textured plastic. I can adjust the angle of my headlights, which is something you'd very rarely use, I guess, unless you're going off-road. Simple controls on here. I do like this, and I don't like it at the same time. It's a bit of a confusing interior. Now, this is what I can see in here, and as you can see, it's that slightly confusing mix of modern and premium and kind of rugged and off-roady inspired. But the screen, I had to say, is quite a delight. Look how fast this is. Very speedy graphics, and this is from a affordable kind of budget car. I mean, you're getting such amazing kind of on-screen controls, which even Legacy Auto can't even get this bit right. And this is not an expensive car at all. I've got fairly standard functionality in here. There isn't much really to shout about, but I do have things like my off-road modes. I can see my pitch, my roll, my tyre pressure as well. So useful if you are actually going off-roading. I think this would be able to cope with some slightly bumpy, gravelly roads and things like that. But there you go, I've got all my drive modes here. Now, graphic is a little bit laggy, that's a little bit slow. But you can choose rainy, off-roady, sport mode. It's got sport mode because it obviously needs that. It's a good feeling when you're in here and turning that dial. Now the rear is where things get slightly more disappointing, shall we say. Now, seat comfort is decent. I've got plenty of leg room. My legs are not floating in the air because of a really high floor. It does feel quite small because there is no sunroof in here, which is fine. It's a rugged off-roady car, but there isn't much in here in terms of what you actually get. But you do get 7 speakers. 7, and I can't believe it. Most press releases you see now are saying we have 25 speakers with 1,000 watts of power. This is just like, well, I've got 7 speakers, you know. And that's what I like about this car. It's focused on things that matter and things that people really care about. The only compromise in the back here is that it's only got 2 seats. There's no real middle seat, there's no seat belt for that, but both of these are ISOFIX, so a family of 4 could easily go in here. But forget all of that stuff, because the most important thing is the price. This car starts at 99,800 RMB, or about 14,000 US dollars, and the top of the range one, 139,000 RMB, is about 19,000 US dollars. For all of this, I think forgive all of its foibles, because that is amazing value for money. It's cheaper than my first Xpeng G3, and that was 5 years ago. And I get so much in here in this cute, really attractive package. CHERY have really, really knocked this one out of the park. Now, it really does help that it's high riding, but the battery is obviously below the floor. It's quite low. This isn't actually that heavy. It's just around 2,000 kilograms, which, yes, I know it's heavy compared to the SUVs of the past, but for an electric SUV, that's not a bad weight. It's got the smaller batteries, so again, you're not wasting 500 kilos on an extra 50 kilowatt hours of battery. You've got exactly what you need for that off-road driving. What really surprised me is this has some element of self-driving. There's a Horizon chipset or something in here, but it has something called NOA, Navigate on Autopilot, which really does mean you have some self-driving functionality. It has the radars in the front. It's got plenty of cameras around the outside. Turn that on. I think I just need 2 taps down on the stalk here, but I need to be driving a minimum speed before it will go. So let's see what it actually is like. Yeah, it's steering itself. Really, no drama at all. It's completely steering itself now. So I mean, it's not as advanced as perhaps its rivals, but this is a car which costs less than 15,000 US dollars, and it has some semblance of self-driving. I'll just turn it off whilst I'm talking to you. That is really quite incredible for the money.